What are rational numbers? When we study about rational numbers, we will encounter fraction. What is it? A fraction has a numerator and a denominator. The one above is the numerator and the one below is the denominator. In your elementary years, you have learned about fractions. Let us also recall that fraction is known to be similar or dissimilar and proper or improper. Can you still remember the rules in adding similar and dissimilar fractions? Last week, you studied about rational numbers, which was defined as any number that can be written as a over b, where a and b are integers, and where b, the integer in the denominator, is not equal to 0. So how do we add rational numbers? This time, you need to discover whether the rules in adding similar and dissimilar fractions are the same as adding rational numbers. Do you think we can apply the rules in adding fractions to rational numbers? In adding rational numbers in fraction form, we need to check the denominators. Example, given 1 over 6 plus 2 over 6 equals what? Notice that the denominators are 6 and 6. So if the denominators are the same, we simply copy the denominator and proceed with the operation, which is addition. So 1 plus 2, that gives us 3. Notice that 3 and 6 also has a common factor, which is 3. So we still need to simplify our answer, and this will give us 1/2. Let's have another example. Given negative 14 over 15 plus negative 4 over 5. Our denominators are 15 and 5. Notice that they are different. So what do we do if we have different denominators? If the denominators are different, we look for the LCD, the least common denominator, or the LCM, which is the least common multiple, to make them similar fractions, and then we can proceed with the operation. So what's the difference between LCD and LCM? For LCD, we will list down first our denominators, and then we will list down the prime factors of the denominators. For 15, we have 5 times 3. For 5, we have 5. Notice that we have a pair, so we will count this as 1. So for our LCD, we have 5 times 3. This gives us 15. How about LCM? For LCM, it says here multiple, so we will list down the multiples of our denominators 15 and 5. So for 15, the multiples are 15, 30, 45. For 5, we have 5, 10, 15. We will stop here because we already have a common multiple, which is 15. Notice that they're the same? LCD and LCM will be the same, so it would really be up to you whichever you will choose to use between the two. Now that we already know what our LCD is, let's make our fractions similar. So let's write down first our denominators. So how do we make it similar? By simply following these steps. Let's go ahead and focus on our first term first. So that's 15, which is the LCD, divided by 15, which is the denominator of the first term, gives us 1. 1 will be multiplied to the numerator, which is negative 14, this gives us negative 14. So we will write negative 14 in our numerator for the first term. Let's go ahead and check the second term. For the second term, so we have the LCD, which is 15, divided by the denominator of the second term, that's 5, that gives us 3. 3 will then be multiplied to the numerator, that's negative 4. This gives us negative 12. So we will write negative 12 as the numerator for the second term. So notice that they have the same sign. Both numbers are negative, so we will add. So 14 plus 12, that gives us 26. Do not forget the sign, negative. Then copy the denominator. If the answer cannot be simplified, then this will be our final answer. Let's have another example. Given 2/5 plus negative 1/4. Notice our denominators are 5 and 4. They're different, so we will look for the LCM. In looking for the LCM, we simply need to write down the multiples of our denominators 5 and 4. Let's start with 5. That's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. For 4, that's 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. We can stop at 20 because we already have the least common multiple, that is 20. So 20 will now become our new denominator for our new fractions to make it similar. So we will write 20 here for the first term and another 20 for the second term. Now, let's make these fractions similar. So 20, which is the new denominator, will be divided by 5, which is the denominator of the first term, will give us 4. 4 will be multiplied to the numerator of the first term, that's 2, will give us 8. So we will write 8 here. For the second one, that's 20 divided by 4 gives us 5. 5 will be multiplied to the numerator, that's negative 1, will give us negative 5. So we will write negative 5 here. In adding similar fractions, we simply copy the denominator, that's 20. Notice that our fractions are of opposite sides. One is positive while the other one is negative. So if they have different signs, instead of adding, we will be subtracting the numbers. So 8 minus 5 will give us 3. And the sign of 3 will be positive since 8 has a bigger absolute value number than 5. So our final answer is 3 over 20. Another example. Given negative 3 over 7 plus negative 2 over 7. Notice that they are of the same denominator, so we simply copy the denominator. Notice that they also have the same sign, negative and negative, so we are going to add the numbers. So 3 plus 2, that gives us 5. And since both numbers are negative, we will copy the sign that's negative. So our final answer is negative 5 over 7. Now that we are done adding rational numbers in fraction form, we will now be adding rational numbers in decimal form. But before that, what's decimal? Let's check this first. So given 7.000. Let's identify the parts of the given number. So the whole number 7, we call this the ones place. And this one, this is our decimal point. After the decimal point, we have the tenths place. Next, hundredths place. Then, thousandths place. Is it clear now? Let's start adding rational numbers in decimal form. There are two ways of adding decimals. The first one is to express the decimal numbers in fractions, then add. Example, 4.3 plus 3.2. Notice that we have decimals here, 0.3 and 0.2. Also, if you have noticed, both these decimals are on the tenths place. So if we are going to express this in fraction form, 4.3 becomes 4 and 3 over 10 plus 3 and 2 over 10. Again, why 10? Because your decimal place is on the tenths place. Now that we have expressed the decimals in fractions, we can simply add them since they are also similar fractions. So how do we add the numbers? Simply add the whole numbers first. That's 4 plus 3. That gives us 7. Now, we copy the denominator since these are similar fractions. Then we add the numerators, 3 plus 2, that gives us 5. Notice here that we can still simplify 5 over 10. And this will be, right, 1/2. So our final answer will be 7 and 1/2. Another way of adding rational numbers in decimal form is to arrange the decimal numbers in a column such that the decimal points are aligned, then add as with integers. Example, negative 7.21 plus 2.45. So it says here we are to arrange the numbers in a column. Let's do that. So this is negative 7.21 plus 2.45. Notice that our numbers are of opposite signs. So it says here, add as with integers. So one of the rules in adding integers is that for opposite signs, instead of adding, we will be subtracting. So 1 minus 5 cannot be, so we have to borrow from 2. So 2 becomes 1. And 1 here becomes 11. So 11 minus 5, that gives us 6. 1 minus 4 cannot be, so we have to borrow from 7. 7 now becomes 6. 1 becomes 11. 11 minus 4, that gives us 7. Copy the decimal point. Negative 6 plus 2, that is negative 4. So our final answer is negative 4.76. Let's try another example. Given 2.3 plus 7.21. We are going to use the two different ways in adding decimals just to check if we will arrive to the same answer. So first, let us express these fractions into decimals. So that's 2.3 becomes 2 and 3 over 10. While 7.21 becomes 7 and 21 over 100. Notice that we have different denominators, so we still have to look for the LCD. To do that, let's convert first mixed numbers to improper fractions. So how do we make improper fractions? We simply multiply the denominator times the whole number, and whatever the product is, add that to the numerator. So that's 10 times 2, 20, plus 3, that gives us 23. Then we copy the denominator 10. Then 100 times 7, that's 700, plus 21, that's 721 over 100. Now let's look for the LCD. So we will list down the prime factors of 10 and 100. So the prime factors of 10 are 5 and 2. For 100, that's 5 and 2, another 5 and another 2. Notice that we have a pair. So this will be counted as 1, this will be counted as 1. So for LCD, that's 5 times 2 times 5 times 2. This is equal to 100. Now, we now have a new denominator that is 100. So going back to our improper fractions, 100 divided by 10, that is equal to 10. And multiply that with 23, that is equal to 230. 100 divided by 100, that's 1. And we multiply it with 721, this is equal to 721. So this gives us 230 plus 721, that's 951. And we simply copy the denominator. In mixed number, this is equal to 9 and 51 over 100. So this is the answer in fraction form. Now let me show you another way in adding decimals. So we just have to write down the decimals in column form and make sure that the decimal points are aligned. So let's start. That's 2.3 plus 7.21. So we simply add the numbers. 3 plus 2 is 5. Your decimal point should be in place. And 2 plus 7 is 9. So this is our answer. And notice that 9 and 51 over 100 is the same as 9.51. So our answers are the same. So whichever way you choose, it will always arrive at the same answer.